Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, we're scheduled to have Al Jourgensen, the founder of Ministry, super politically aware. I don't know even what you call it. I mean, the granddaddies of so much of the techno, trance, rock, music, and talk about the New World Order, 9/11 inside job, all of it. He's coming up the next segment. Look, I don't have words to describe this. When Bob Chapman's on, I'm going to get more into it. But I've got Paul Watson doing an article on this, and Aaron Dykes, and I'm pretty distracted right now, I'm going to be honest with you. Because this is such tyranny. This is so hardcore. The mind manipulation that's been done even on gun owners and the Second Amendment self-defense lobby is incredible. Okay? A year ago, we found out that from Texas to California, they were quietly ordering by word of mouth, ATF coming into offices saying, if you sell 2 or more rifles, anything above a 22, what they call high power or semi-auto, deer rifles, anything. And by the way, gun buyers, when you finally get into a gun shop, I tend to buy more than one. In fact, that's why I don't get near gun shops. But you buy a couple guns. You already go through the FBI instant check. They already know what's going on, how many guns. You're checked that you're not a felon. And you get the gun. And that's out of control. You know, they always expand the gun laws. So, A, they already are running the check. So, why is the ATF doing this? Well, this is the nature of tyranny. If Obama could shut down power plants without congressional approval, he's a dictator. If he can launch wars without congressional approval, he's a dictator. If he can raise debt ceiling, which he's talking about doing, he's a dictator. And it's not that he's even a dictator. It's the system is wants all the power centered in one place. So, and these points aren't even in A through Z aren't even the most important in order. So they're doing this where they're basically turning you into a confidential informant. And this is what the ATF did in Arizona and other states. They would come in and they would say, you're going to sell guns to these guys that are coming in. They're going to take them to Mexico. And they're like, I don't want to do that. And they say, we're the ATF, do what you're told. So they could ship the guns into Mexico and now come out with this program to harass people that are buying guns, to go after people that are going, to get guns. So let me just calmly go through the points here right now. Okay. A, there isn't a law, and the government's doing this outside of law. Okay, and did it by word of mouth. Now we've got the letter they issued July 12th to gun shops from Texas to California. Okay, the entire Southwest. Okay, so there's that issue that this was all done outside of law, and that if they can set the precedent to come in and order you to do things and command you in the letter with no law, the sky's the limit. They've set the precedent that they're dictatorial. It's called authoritarian, dictatorial. That's what dictatorship is. Secondarily, as I said, they already know that you don't have a criminal background and that you bought these guns. That's the FBI instant check. It's self-unconstitutional, but see, it's always more and more and more. So they know that. And there's also the fact that they're telling people by word of mouth, don't talk about this. So it's this behind-the-scenes secret agent type deal. And then here's the biggest one. Then they want to chill the Second Amendment. They then send ATF and FBI or both, and I've confirmed this from gun dealers and people in my office, to your house when you've bought 2 rifles and imply that you're a terrorist and evil and put you on a list as part of intimidation. And then, of course, the biggest issue, remember, it's the government that shipped the guns into Mexico to track them back here to then do this program outside of law. And remember, Obama said earlier in the year he's going to do gun control, quote, by stealth, victim disarmament by stealth, and that they were going to use regulations outside of law. Use EPA regulations to shut down power plants. Same thing. And so this is a total dictatorial, criminal power grab, intimidating people that are buying guns, intimidating the gun shops outside of law when it's the government that criminally shipped the guns into Mexico to then cause a crisis and blame the Second Amendment inside the United States. Remember, Mexico has a total gun ban, and they've got one of the highest crime rates in the world. So this has all been calculated very, very carefully. All right, we got a big guest coming up after the break. Stay with us. remember decades ago listening to this song, and we'll play the part later where it talks, it's got quotes of George Herbert Walker Bush talking about right and wrong, good and evil, New World Order. And Al Jourgensen, the founder of Ministry, is our guest and influenced, so much of the modern music that's out there. I think it's great. Also appreciate their album they put out a few years ago, dealing with 9/11 being an inside job, and we'll play some of that music coming up today. Al Jourgensen from his compound in El Paso, Texas. He is the founder and frontman of the Grammy-nominated industrial metal band Ministry. He's also known as Al Jourgensen, Hypo Lux, Dog Alien Dog Star, and Buck Satan. In Al's 30-plus music career, he has created such bands as, and it just goes on through them, and he joins us. And one of the last albums he put out was a Rio Grande Blood, I thought was excellent. And we'll talk more about that with him here on the broadcast today. They're on Facebook at facebook.com ministry and 13 planetrecords.com and a lot more. And I wanted to get him on because obviously I saw that album dealing with 9/11 Truth, and we was wondering how 20 years ago or more now, was he talking about the New World Order and global government and all of these issues, and get a view on, really his political ideas and what Ministry has really stood for. Al, good to have you here on the show with us.
What's up, Alex?
We're just broadcasting worldwide. There's so much to talk about, but you said out of the gates that you have a bone to pick with me. So let's just get it out here on the table right now, because you're rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. Slap Jones around some. I'm going to slap you around, too. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sure you will. But I've been listening all morning, and been listening to this gold shilling, which is very Glenn Beckish, I think, because okay, there's a 12 apocalypse, whether it's the magnetic shift or the solar flare or an asteroid that the government isn't telling us that's coming because they don't want chaos. You really think gold is going to get you through those days? Okay, so obviously the banking system is done, okay, after an apocalyptic, hell. You think that by buying supplies in gold, that you're not going to be targeted for having gold and having rampaging marauders ransacking your house, which is it's going to fall into anarchy, is going to keep you safe? Really? I think this is just another scam of just like making money for certain people, a certain few, the gold traders, on you have to have that as a safety net. What's the safety net after a post-apocalyptic future? What is the safety net? I would say by batteries, water, and bread, and maybe a few guns. Okay? That's your safety net.
Maybe a few guns.
Yeah, like a few hundred guns, which you've been dealing on this morning with the new ATF rule, which, okay, so just go extra time and buy 400 rounds and 2 guns twice a week. Really, if you want to be prepared for that, gold and silver is not the answer. Who's going to take gold on precious resources when resources are so scarce and there is no banking system? Gold and silver are a farce. This is another conspiracy to get people to spend money to make a select few a lot of money.
All right, let me counter that. I think that's fair. Let me respond to that, Al. All I know is I was a silver and gold purchaser before I ever had sponsors, and I have a sponsor who I know has really great deals, and that's where I buy my gold and silver. I bought silver, and a lot of what I bought was at $5, $6 an ounce. Now it's about $40. I bought gold. A lot of what I have at $300, $400, $500. It's at $1,600. They're killing the dollar. And hold on. Let me just counter you. That's like saying I shouldn't have kids because somebody might hurt them or they might die in a car wreck. To say that marauders might come take my guns. Listen, I'm not turning my gold into the government. I'm not turning anything to marauders. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill marauders.
Listen, gold's going to be worthless and dollars going to be worthless. What's going to be worthwhile is survival techniques if you want to live in that world. Me, I got my Glock 9. and I'm going to wait till my food runs out after 2012, and then I'm going to put a Glock 9 or a Beretta to the roof of my mouth and have a big party and go out in a peaceful way. All right?
So you really think it's the end of the world? I don't think it is.
Well, I really do, and I'm not one of these, like, you know, it's really funny. I have a 2012 tattoo, and I got it like 3 days before this initial crisis of some sect saying, like, the world was going to end, you know, a few months ago. And I'm going, if the earth starts rumbling, I'm going to go, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to the tattoo shop and getting a rebate on my 2012 tattoos.
All right. Well, Al, now it makes sense. If you really think that it's the end of the world, then yes, you should.
I hate to quote REM, but it's the end of the world as we know it.
Okay.
And there's no doubt about that.
Okay, well, listen, we disagree on that. And, Al, I want to talk about it, but that's a pretty bold accusation earlier. So, I do need to counter it here. So, you're here, you said it, and then I want to hear you roll because you're here and I want to hear your ideas. You're a very interesting person, and I admire your music and your art. But now I understand. Absolutely. If you think the world's ending in the next year and a half or less.
No. I don't think the world's ending. I think the world is going to change dramatically.
Well, there's no point in getting gold and silver if you think the world's going to end. But it's been a great investment, and I believe in it, and I do have survival people on.
Okay, well, listen, my monitor man has a lot of money tied in gold. You know what he just did with it? As of yesterday, he sold it all. And you know what he bought? Bread, batteries, and water.
That's a lot of bread, batteries, and water.
Yeah. A lot of bread, batteries, and water because he wants to survive in that climate.
What about that gold tooth, Al? You got a gold tooth. That's a scam.
I got a gold tooth. Well, maybe somebody can yank it off me after, the marauding bands of, rampagers and anarchists just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Will overrun the compound with food and water and gold and take your stuff. That's fine. I'm fine with that.
El Paso is pretty apocalyptic looking. Why do you live in El Paso? Does it suit your Diablo essence?
Well, El Paso is an interesting city. It's always been an outlaw city. When the Spanish conquistadors came here, and we have churches here from 1590 and things like this of people passing through to California. That's what they call it, El Paso. It's the pass between the mountains before you go west. And it's always been an outlaw town. It's got the world's largest, Harley distributorship here. So it's pretty much bikers and outlaws, and I seem to fit in here for whatever reason. And I like it here. I've been here 9 years. I've got it tattooed on my neck, the name of the city, and I plan on staying. So, there's where we're at.
Now, it does look like something out of Road Warrior in El Paso when you drive in and all those ancient-looking hills and all the radio towers and, wreckage and junk all over the sides of the road and then the city and the people. It is beautiful in an ugly way. El Paso is a very interesting town. Now, I want to get away from this in a moment, but I want to go back to something, Al. I know we're going to be here after 2012. We're going to defeat the New World Order. We're going to defeat their designed implosion of the world economy. And we're not going to...
the only way we're going to defeat the New World Order is for the people to finally get so fed up by the Republicans destroying the middle class to where people have no money. Here's what cracks me up about the Republicans. It's such short-term sightedness. Okay, let's put the piggyback onto the middle class. So the middle class has nothing, and the CEOs make everything, okay? Although, in a few years, who's going to buy their product? Well, they're making record profit bonuses every year, okay? And at the end of that, who's going to buy their product if no one has money? So therefore, they're thinking short-term cash grab game, and they're not thinking long-term of how to sustain an economy. They're thinking short-term cash grab, which is what's happening
in the energy
industry. What?
It's a cannibalistic economy.
No, it's a short-sighted economy.
Yeah.
These freshmen in the Republican Congress have been reading way too much Ayn Rand, all right? It's like, if I don't get my way, I'm going to blow up the building. And that's what they're doing, okay? That's what they're doing. You may hate Obama. You may think he's a scumbag and all that. You know what? He's dealing with the realities of Washington. And no, it's not easy for anybody. It was easy for W because of his bloodline and this and that, and people, like, fell into line, just like, Goose Step. But with Obama, a black president, oh, my God, no, we can't have this. So, we'd rather blow up the building, as Ayn Rand said, than pursue with policies that might actually do good. I mean, I'm thinking, if we had a Democratic Congress and a Democratic president, and I mean Congress and Senate, we would have infrastructure right now. We would have the things that would make this country grow and leave things for our future. As of right now, the short-sighted terms of the CEOs, which is the Republican overlords, just want immediate cash, and they'll build their bunkers. Here's a decent point. Okay, Bush is so cozy. Bush was so cozy with the Saudis and all this stuff. Yet, him and the CIA director, Woolsey, under the Clinton administration, both have solar-powered houses. Now, why is it good enough for them but not good enough for us?
Well, again, we're talking to the founder of Ministry. Al, look, I totally agree that the Republican leadership are bad, but Obama
they're not
is
bad. They're just misinformed, and they're talking to their overlords.
Well, they're running everything.
And even the overlords don't see that if you destroy the middle class, there is no consumption. And people don't consume. The overlords, sure, they have CEO record bonuses, but that's not only going to last for a couple of years because there's nobody there to buy anything.
Al, this is a planned post-industrial economy. You're saying they don't see what they're doing. I can give you the handbooks, the white papers, where this has been planned for at least 50 years, what we're entering. It's called a post-industrial world. They hate the middle class. The ultra-rich have always sought to destroy it, so there's a giant underclass and a tiny group on top. And all I'm saying is, versus the rhetoric and reality, Obama has continued all of the Bush policies. But
right. I agree. But what's Obama up against? An established, entrenched oligarchy, okay? So, from community organizer to, like, trying to do what's right versus these satanic people, it's a pretty difficult task. I'm going to cut him some slack for right now, okay? Like, I just hope they don't inject the alien bloodline DNA into him as well, so he acts in accordance with his overlords. But he's putting up as much of a fight as he can, and, I'll leave it at that. I mean, really, what we're dealing with is not government at all, but, like, really short-sighted. Look, this is what makes me think that 2012 is an actual reality. It's not the Mayans and some, like, crazy paintings of a guy in a spaceship on a tomb or anything. It's the fact that, okay, here we go. Here's a guy that has a website named Darren McClung, and it's called 2012 Supplies, okay? And this guy is selling things, survival kits, for the masses. Yet he has a really hard time getting these supplies because the government keeps buying it up all each month, okay? So what does that tell you? I mean, you've seen the movies, like anything from Contact to Armageddon to, 2012, whatever. The government knows something's going on.
Yeah, what's going on is they're buying all
the supplies.
Yes, they are. They've been building a giant COG system for 60 years, underground bases, NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, Mount Weather, all of it, Site R. They are been training the military for 2012 for at least 15 years for mass gun confiscations, riots, total shutdown, because they have planned the implosion of the global economy to build the global government on top of it that we will pay our carbon taxes to. They are destroying the planet through economic warfare. The globalists took over to shut off.
I have a bone to pick with you on that, too. Okay, so the ions from space are coming, and they're warming up our planet. we're not helping it. Listen, it now reached 7 billion people today on this planet, okay? By 2012, it'll be 7.5 billion people. That's too many people for the resources, okay? It's like the same thing as the dinosaurs. They didn't have a global positioning and satellites and rockets and all that to destroy an asteroid, but they were overpopulated. And when they're overpopulated and they have no other skills, they're going to go down.
The dinosaurs were overpopulated now?
Yes. The top 1% have all their bunkers and all that. That's why it's a giant cash grab now. Fossil fuel is just a completely irrelevant thing right now. Like I said, Bush and Woolsey have their solar panel houses and generators waiting for the apocalypse because the 1% will survive. And then we'll have a new society after 6 to 7 billion people die in the next apocalypse. And they'll have their cushy home. And then they'll start another system the same as the one that we have.
Al, do you want to know my view on this? Because I've really studied it in depth, and I know you've done some studying and talking about the New World Order before I was, so I understand you've got some deep political and geopolitical ideas here, but they have implanted through the fake Christian groups that it's the end of the world, Jesus is coming back, so stand down to corruption. They've used the 2012 stuff for 30 years, implanted as a self-fulfilling prophecy to expect total collapse and devastation because they are launching their operation to depopulate on schedule in the next decade, and 2012...
I agree, except for the fact that they're talking about finances. I'm talking about people. People are going to die. They're so callous to the whole notion of 6-7 billion people dying as long as they make their money and they have their cush bunkers, okay, with survival kits, that they don't care. Yeah, they've been planning for the economic collapse for 30 years, but they haven't been planning, and nor do they care about the populace, okay? So, call me left-wing on that one. I'm right-wing on other things.
Well, let me back you up on something. I've confirmed with top construction companies that are listeners, some of which have been guests here, that every CIA high-level person, every person that's worth hundreds of millions or billions, and in the upper echelon within the last 5 years have built bunkers everywhere and have bunkers underneath their houses and are totally freaked out. So I believe from things that they've said and done, they're looking at releasing airborne Ebola that's weaponized. It'll kill 99% of people. And
Probably. That'll be like the least of our worries. Trust me. I mean, that sounds horrible in its essence, but that'll be the least of our worries. And it's so funny that the 1% that ran the world before, after end of the world as we know it, will run it again. That's what freaks me out. So if we want to tax the rich, go ahead and tax the rich. That's what I say. Let them pay for some fair share of like giving us our last few years as we know it, because there will be survivors.
But see, that's the psychological...
And what do survivors do? They break into anarchy. They break into groups. They break into tribalism. So gold and silver is going to hold you off from them? No. They'll just kill you and take your gold and silver.
Well, that's giving up. And look, then you can cash...
No, it's not giving up. It's not giving up because human beings will survive. And how do they survive? They band together. They make groups. They make gangs, which is why, I see the appeal of gangs amongst the youth today is because it gives them a sense of purpose. And it's the same thing that's going to happen, okay? Whether it's like a magnetic polar shift, a solar flare, or an asteroid that the government isn't telling us about. One or the other, there's going to be some crap hitting the fan coming up soon, okay? Coming up soon, one way or the other, okay? Like right now, I could see us trying to build China into the main enemy. That's not our main enemy. Our main enemy is ourselves and our greed, because the 1% that runs it now and the 1% that will run it after the apocalypse will be the same people, and it's the same greed.
Al Jourgensen?
Greed is the power of humanity, not external sources.
Yeah, Al, just to be clear here, though, I believe that things are not going to be as bad as a lot of people think during 2012. It is going to be artificial, just like the collapse is designed. They have Warren Buffett and everybody come out.
Just like our debt ceiling, just like the Republicans make this an artificial crisis. Tell me greed doesn't rule this planet. Just tell me that. I want to hear that from your mouth.
Well,
tell me greed does not rule
that's like saying,
planet.
tell me the sky isn't blue. But Al, that's not even what I'm saying here. The Republicans, the people holding it up are the Tea Party, who aren't fully informed, but they see us being completely bankrupted if we don't cut spending. Then they have all the billionaires out like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates saying, I don't pay hardly any taxes. Raise my taxes, but you get the tax plan. They're exempt offshore, and they're going after folks making $125,000 individually, $250,000 in a family. That's not rich, Al.
Listen, man, I've got offshore accounts. I've got them. I've made my money in music. I'm ready to go. I'm living good. I'm living large, but I'm worried about the rest of the populace. Okay, and so why don't you put a loophole for offshore accounts? Why don't you put a loophole, or not a loophole?
Get rid of it.
Close the loophole of offshore accounts and this and that to make this prosperous for the last few years.
All right, Al, stay there. We got to go to break. We're going to come right back after the break. Stay with us. Al from Ministries here.
What we are looking at is good and evil, right and wrong. A new world order.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Al Jourgensen, of course, the founder of Ministry, is our guest for the rest of the hour. Then Bob Chapman coming up on the economy. Look, we're having discussions during the breaks, and I kind of want to repeat that now here on air. And I'm like, Al, I understand the ultra-rich are avoiding almost all taxes, but it's the ultra-rich that are promoting let's get the rich on all these TV shows. They're promoting this idea. Then they're going to bait and switch it in the tax plans they've put out and literally gang rape people making $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year that actually is funding the economy. You got the head of his economic council, the head of GE moving their X-ray factories to China. You've got General Motors with using billions to move its plants in the bailout to China and Brazil. This is globalism. And so all I'm saying is I understand, hey, the rich are basically exempt from taxes. All I'm saying is they're baiting and switching it. And if you look at the actual plans, not the rhetoric, it goes after the middle class. And so as Ron Paul has said, the Republican plan will bankrupt us down the road. And the Obama plan will, because none of them are talking about the $1,500 trillion the bankers created in fake derivatives that they got both parties, and the same thing in Greece and everywhere else, to sign on to. So I'm saying...
Okay,
yeah.
I agree with you about 75% there, too. But the problem is the Ron Paul plan, the Libertarian plan, so like Democrats and Republicans are both screwed, also doesn't take into effect... okay, I know you just had a segment on polar bears swimming across whatever, and who cares, and this and that. But I care in the sense that the entire eastern seaboard will be under 6 feet of water, and there'll be trillions of dollars lost in that when Greenland melts. Okay, so forget the polar bears. Let's just talk about facts here. Okay, so I do agree. I'm basically a libertarian, but the point is that the first person like Rick Perry, the governor of Texas, okay, Mr. Secessionist, Mr. guns in every bar and, concealed weapons permits across the states. I have weapons, but I don't take them across the state and I don't bring them to bars, for God's sake. But, illegal immigration, another big thing. Oh, we got to stop that. Yet, if we do that, then it doesn't drive the wage down of the middle class, and we don't have workers willing to do that. So the Republican Party is full of hypocrisy, okay? So Rick Perry, anti-immigration, anti-this, anti-that, but all those things like disaffect boards, which make money, the one percenters, all right? They make money off this. So So I'm sure there's a lot of pressure and back and forth in the Republican Party, which is why they can't even pass the Boehner bill right now.
But
okay?
Al, listen, Rick Perry was Al Gore's chief of staff in Texas. He was for forced inoculations. He passed sanctuary cities and then claimed he was trying to get rid of them. There's two Rick Perrys. There's the rhetoric of Rick Perry, just like there's the rhetoric of Obama, and then there's the real Rick Perry, there's the real Obama.
Well, what does it tell you? You know David Icke.
Yes.
What does that tell you? Politicians are the mouthpiece for the people in control, okay?
Yes.
So what does that tell you? I mean, what does that tell you that Obama says one thing, Perry says another thing? What does that tell you? Listen, I just watched the David Icke documentary, The Matrix, the other day, and you were mentioned on it. Do you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I know David. He's been on the show a lot.
All right. Well, David Icke, I agree with about 75% of him. And the same as you. Okay? So we're not adversaries.
No, I know.
We're on the same path.
This is a good interview. Folks are glued right now. Listen, I want to talk about your political awakening, because you listen to stuff you guys did 20, 25 years ago. And I mean, it is really politically sophisticated. Back when nobody was talking about world government, new world order, all this stuff. I mean, what was your process of seeing the world or waking up, or were you born awake?
Well, it's very similar to David Icke, where he was a soccer star, and all I wanted to do was I wanted to ride rodeo. I was a bull rider. And I wanted to be a baseball player, but I tore up my knees, so then I went to bull riding. But something was nagging at me that something is not right here. Okay, something is not right, and it's not what CNN tells you, which is another point I have to make, which is so funny, that the Pentagon finally repeals Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and yet our media centers, whether it's Fox, CNN, or even MSNBC, is basically don't ask, don't tell. They don't ask the hard questions, and they don't tell you the hard answers. So it's don't ask, don't tell in the media. Don't ask, don't tell is gone in the military.
No, they lie by omission, yeah.
Yeah, I find that rather ironic. But at any rate, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what. So I started digging into it and started realizing bloodlines and things like that, which I know, okay, Holy Grail, and this and that, and blah, 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 and this is all a bunch of bull crap.
No, they're really into all that. They're obsessed with breeding. I mean, that's why every president in the last 100 years has been totally related, and they're all related to the royalty of England, and they only interbreed with each other, and it's a psychopathic, control freak, unfeeling psychopaths run it, then under them is an army of sociopaths and sadists. And those of us that are good people and have love, we need to wake up and start really realizing what we're facing and stop being blind.
But it's not the English. The English came later. It actually came from the Merovingians.
No, I know it goes back all the way, yeah.
Yeah. It goes back a ways.
Well, Al, give us your view then. You've got the floor. Your view of who runs the New World Order, 9/11, everything. I mean, spill the guts here.
Well, the bloodline. But, like, if you look at 9/11, it's no different than Pearl Harbor. Roosevelt had 3 days advance. He was trying to find a way to get us into World War II because we were isolationists. We didn't really care. We didn't see how it mattered to us because it wasn't a global economy back then. And so he allowed it to happen. He sacrificed our people in order, ends to a means type of thing, or means to an end. And the same thing with 9/11 and Bush. It's a means to an end. Like Obama, the reason that he's involved in this bloodline is what is he, sixth cousin of Cheney through his mom's side or something?
Yes.
He's got some bloodline, so he's allowed to rule. They're not happy about it, but he's allowed to rule. Allowed. And that's a big word, allowed, because what does that mean? That means that somebody else is calling the shots and they're allowing somebody to be president, the supposed most, important person in the world. So, what we have here is, I go back to, like, Zechariah Sitchin and Graham Hancock, and I go back to, even Von Däniken, okay? I mean, that's what got me hooked on
Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah. I mean, well, amongst other books. But that's what got me hooked on this stuff. Then I started reading more stuff on it. Graham Hancock is another great person as far as like alien bloodline, and we can't release that because religions, as we know, would go down, and that's not profitable.
You notice now they're having to admit, there's these Neanderthal, and we've done the DNA, and it turns out Northern Europeans are the highest concentration of Neanderthal, and the genetic DNA is different. And then now you find out for 20 years or longer, they've made thousands and thousands of cross-human animal clones, but keep the details secret. I mean, we're not in Kansas anymore, and what you're saying, Al, to put words in your mouth, correct me if I'm wrong, we've never been in Kansas.
No, we've never been in Kansas, and we've never been a human race. We're a human race only through DNA altering by species different than us. And the species that are different than us were the Anunnaki. I'm a big 12th planet theory, which is why my label is called 13th planet, which is like, that's 12th planet. I've even got weirder ideas, so I'm 13th planet. And the called 12th planet is they saw the 8 visible planets. They didn't see Pluto, but they saw the moons of our moon and then 3 gas giant moons, which made it 12 planets through the first telescope. So that's why it's 12th planet. And
now we know there's hundreds of Pluto-sized objects out in the Kuiper Belt now. So there is all sorts of... Yeah.
Exactly. And I think the government knows one of them is going to hit us soon. Because, I mean, you see, Hollywood sometimes is just complete crap, i.e. Smurf movie or whatever. But sometimes they get it right. Like, I worked with Steven Spielberg, who did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I worked with him on AI, artificial intelligence. Although I used to have a joke with him. I told him, like, the band didn't want to do the film because we thought AI stood for Anal Intruder, and it was a porno film. But anyways.
Oh, man.
He got a joke out of that. He actually, he would come up with a new AI every day, like Anal.
Okay. But this is a family show. Al, going back here, I forgot you worked on AI. How was ministry involved in that?
Well, it's funny. We got a call from Stanley Kubrick at my house, and he's like, he really wants us to be the band in the Flesh Fair, and he really wants us to write the music for the film. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I hung up. I thought it was a prank call. And they called back, and they're like, no, blah, 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 blah. And here's Mr. Kubrick. And I talked to Stanley Kubrick before he died. And he was like, no, you're the perfect embodiment of the film that I want to make. And then he died, and then Spielberg took it over and put that damn teddy bear in, with the kid, because he liked that E.T. and the children saving the day thing. And the teddy bear, and that teddy bear was a mess, man. That thing would, go down, every 10 minutes. It'd be like, the bear's down. Everyone take 10. The bear's down. And so we'd be, back there, sloughing beers, waiting for the bear to come back up. I know Stan Winston just died, rest in peace, but, the creator of the teddy bear and many other special effects, icons that we have in our lexicon, but I was really pissed. I didn't get along with Stan Winston because of that bear. And
what did you think of Stanley Kubrick's mysterious death? He refused to cut 27 minutes out of Eyes Wide Shut, stuff the elite did not want seen, because, of course, as we know that...
He knew it sucked. And this treatment that I got, I still have, the treatment of the original, was much more about the intricacies of Jude Law in the new city being a male prostitute, and that was half the movie, and Spielberg took it and made it half teddy bear and this Donny Osmond, Joel Haley something or whatever kid, which is a good kid, by the way. He's a big Ministry fan. But at any rate, he made it all about teddy bears and kids when Kubrick's message was really profound.
No, I understand that. He took it and turned it into a Spielberg plastic thing. But going back to Eyes Wide Shut...
But wait. Spielberg's a good guy. I mean, I actually like him, and he's so pro.
Well, he's certainly talented,
I'm not just saying this for job security. He taught me more about filmmaking than I'd had in like 20 years of like, you know, trying to do it on my own. Within like, you know, 2 hours, I already knew more about filmmaking with him. I mean, the guy's talented. It's just that that teddy bear drove me nuts.
I understand, and then well, the teddy bears is now in the ash heap of history. But what about Stanley Kubrick? That's who I'm really interested in. That's one of my favorite director. You know, what a mind, and obviously on the inside track, everything you know he ever produced was basically archetypal for real stuff he believed that was going on. The whole obelisk, you know, 2001: Space Odyssey. It goes on and on. High up with the Illuminist, and the MO is he wouldn't cut 27 minutes out of Eyes Wide Shut that dealt with the elite, and that then he had the heart attack.
He knew that was a mistake. He knew, first of all, getting a Scientologist to play the lead role was a mistake. I mean, he knew that was a mistake. That's why he wanted to really come back with AI, and the treatment that I got was like just mind-blowing. And then I dealt with Spielberg. It's a really funny story, actually. When we first met Spielberg, they lined us up like meeting the Queen, the whole band, right? He'd ignored us for like 3 days, just casting us like really weird glances, like these guys in like all this costume and stuff. And he'd never worked with anyone but John Williams for his sound scores. And so he didn't know what to make of us. He doesn't listen to rock. He listens to classical. His biggest foray into rock is U2. He thinks U2 is okay. All right, so he comes to meet us, and we all have to have our head bowed like the Queen. I was at the end of the line, and the rest of the band shook his hand and all this stuff.
Did you curtsy?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. This is true. And so the rest of the band, like, nodded their head and shook his hand, and I was at the end in full costume. And I went like, Steven, baby, this band's going to walk today. We're not doing this because we were, and it was a porn film, and we just can't do this film. And his handler that was sitting next to him taking notes as he's going through shaking hands, Spielberg goes walking off, and his handler goes running, going, wait, there's a mistake, Mr. Spielberg. Oh, my God. And then I had to run with them in this 50 pounds of, like, makeup and, like, gear that they had me wearing and just go, wait, I was just kidding. You know? And he finally came back, and then me and him got to be friends. So I'm never just a word about Steven Spielberg, except for the fact that I know what the original treatment was for that movie, and
yes, and
wow, that movie would have been a statement, and the rest of it was like a really bad E.T. And I told Spielberg that to his face, so it's not like, I'm like, oh my God, spilling the beans.
No, I understand. Al Jourgensen. Now, back to Stanley Kubrick. What do you think of films like Eyes Wide Shut and the fact that at Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove, the people that are claiming they're big Christian conservatives, speaking of gay sex, are engaged in that and all sorts of Satanism?
Let's go to Bohemian Grove. I'm into that. That's just like, well, listen, the whole Republican Party is based on hypocrisy, all right? I'm sorry. It is. It's based on hypocrisy. First of all, they're pro-life, okay? Yet they're the ones that procure wars that end life and kill countless civilians. But they're pro-life. They're more worried about the fetus at inception than they are about a full-grown adult with a wife and kids. They want to cut veteran benefits. They want to cut everything, yet they want to start wars. So they're not pro-life, okay? So that's just BS right from the start. I mean, they're hypocrisy waiting to happen, the Republican Party. And I'm not a Democrat either, because, listen, 99% of all are owned by their corporate overlords.
All right, Al, stay there. Al Jourgensen, we got to go to break. You're going to do 2 more segments with us, and we got Bob Chapman coming up, and hopefully we can have him back up again sometime to take your calls. Or maybe we'll take a few right now. 800-259-9231. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We'll be back on the other side.
Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. You still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up.
All right, we are back live, and truly an iconic industrial metal band. Really spurred so much of the music that we see today. Really changed the world in a big way. I mean, art is powerful.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. I hate this new crap.
Al Jourgensen is our guest. In true rock and roll form. Al, we were talking during the break, and you heard me tell the guys to come in with the song from one of your last albums, Rio Grande Blood, and you said, boy, 9/11 really gets me. I mean, isn't 9/11 more than just Pearl Harbor, where they knew it was going to happen and had broken the codes and let it happen? I mean, 9/11, when you really look at it, hijackers trained at U.S. bases, NORAD stand-down, passports that magically survived. I mean, what did you think the day of 9/11, Al?
Well, I remember I was living in Austin at the time, and I remember waking up to, like, some disturbing news, and I watched the visual, and I thought, did I change the channel while I was asleep? Because this is a Saturday Night Live spoof. I couldn't believe it, okay? And then I started digging into that, and realizing that it's the same overlords that I've been talking about with our mouthpiece president that resurrected something to what you said, a 30-year plan to destroy the markets and then resurrect them or whatever. And, yeah, I mean, it all made sense right away. It took me about 10 minutes to realize it wasn't a Saturday Night Live spoof. And no offense to the victims of that, because I certainly in no way demean their pain and loss. But just, you can understand where I'm coming from. I thought it was a joke. Are you kidding me? And then realizing where it's coming from. Okay, Bush is the mouthpiece, Cheney's the puppet master, and then there's the overlords. So it kind of started to make sense to me to rebuild. The economy got up to 14,000 on the Dow during Bush, all right? Working on our credit card, okay, which is now in debate, which the Republicans were so happy to vote for while Bush was in office. 14,000 on the Dow. Now, by the time we're done, by the end of this week, we'll be down below 11, okay? You know, and this is all part to make Obama look bad. It's going to backfire on the Republicans. I think people are just going to, like, not even know who's running and just vote Democratic next year.
Well, I mean, Al, come on. You're right about the Republicans. They positioned us along with the bankers for default. We're already technically defaulted, so they are playing politics here, and the whole thing's a distraction at the end of the day because of the hyperinflation that's already beginning. But, I mean, do you believe the Bin Laden killing thing?
This is all true. This is all true. You're absolutely right. But if we had a Democratic Congress and Democratic Senate, okay, do you really think we're just going to spend money like drunken sailors and run this country into the ground and just have our, like, great-great-great-grandchildren in debt and, like, default and all that? No. They're going to start building infrastructure Republicans don't want to do. They're going to start repairing things that need to be repaired Republicans don't want to do. Is it going to mean higher taxes for the wealthy? Yes. Sorry. I'm the wealthy. And I'm willing
No, you're right. They're going to get people like Al, who's worth 10, 20, 30 million. I don't know what you're worth. They're going to come after you, but they're going to leave the Rothschilds and Rockefellers alone. Back in 1 minute. Stay with us.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, Al Jourgensen, the founder and head of Ministry, next time he comes to Austin, he says he's going to come in studio with us. So that's going to be exciting. And you know what adds a lot of credibility to him thinking something really bad's coming, and I hope it's not the case, is that I've been out in Wimberley and places, And there's all these scientists and former government people, even who are young, who've been out there 10, 15, 20 years saying these are our doomsteads. It's all going to implode. And then I run into microbiologists and they say, well, you're right about everything, Alex. But, the point is they are setting up for something big. And I believe that they're instituting it, but who knows what they really know. They never, 5 of the 6 reactors at Fukushima blew up within a week. They knew it had happened, worse than Chernobyl, and they lied and told us everything was fine. Al, what's your take on all of this craziness?
Well, I do think something's coming, if anything, for the fact that, like I said, Dennis McClung, 2012supplies.com, playing on the survivalist, instinct of selling everything from gas masks to, homegrown garden kits, hydroponics, all this shit. Sorry, I said, I'm trying. But the government has bought most of the stuff. He's having a hard time finding supplies. Why is the government buying all the supplies, okay, and not letting free enterprise? This isn't just Obama. Oh, Obama's going to ruin us all. This is like the government has been planning this for a long time. Now, like I said, how it comes by, I don't know. And what a magnetic shift does, I don't know. It depends on if the continental plates shift. What a solar flare does, well, obviously that screws up our electronics. What an asteroid does, they're not telling us about. We're supposed to have a close one in 2029 within 100,000 miles and blah, 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 and this and that, and it might not. But I just find it amusing that the government is buying up all the survival supplies. Don't you find that weird?
Well, I hope that you're wrong. I hope that it's not going to be this complete collapse.
Dude, I hope that I'm wrong, too, because, like I said, I'm not spending my life in some road warrior world where I got to defend my food supplies with AR-15s, M16s, Kalashnikovs, Glocks, gas masks, grenades. Is that a way to live? I'd rather throw a party and put a Beretta through my roof of my mouth and just call it a day.
Al, don't do that at the first sign of trouble. If things get bad, roll with it. It's going to be entertaining. There's nothing more exciting than combat with roving hordes.
I really don't find protecting my compound with a large squad against marauding survivalist intenders as a life, okay? Which is why I, kind of rebuked you, maybe falsely, but, is gold and silver really going to matter? Is anything going to matter?
Yeah, when the dollar goes belly up, that, in every case in history, gold and silver and copper and guns and food and whiskey and cigarettes and nylon stockings and makeup, stuff like that, and guts, and like you said, friends. Let me tell you something. They're going to go pick off people on the road if this actually happens. They're not going to mess with something with 10-foot walls and razor wire because they know that there's machine guns on the other side of it.
Hey, the more desperate people get, 10-foot walls seem like 2-foot walls, okay? So, you can't underestimate survival tactics.
All right, Al, stay there. We're going to do 5 more minutes on the other side. You promised to come in studio. That's going to be amazing. And we're going to come back. Bob Chapman's waiting in the wings on economics. So I maybe going to have him. He's a great economist, researcher. You guys can banter a bit about gold. I think that's an interesting discussion. Our guest is the founder of Ministry. And we'll be right back on the other side. Infowars.com.
The Genesis Communications Radio Network proudly presents The Alex Jones Show, because there's a war on for your mind.
Well, I asked Al if he wanted to take a few calls, and we're going to Bob Chapman, and he said, I love talking to knuckleheads. And, of course, if you want to visit the websites, it's facebook.com/ministry or 13thplanetrecords.com. And, of course, it's Al Jourgensen from his compound. He described it as a Waco compound minus all the strangeness out in El Paso, Texas. That I said, well, yeah, it's strangely beautiful in an ugly way. And he said, yeah, it's beautifully creepy. El Paso, it conjures weird feelings when you're there. So do places like Boquillas and Big Bend. I mean, it's like right out of a Western, but with all the craziness on top of it. Bob Chapman waiting in the wings, but we have a bunch of calls. I said, you want to take calls? He said, I love talking to knuckleheads. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, let's talk to the knuckleheads. And so let's talk to Jay in Illinois. Quick question or comment, because we got to go here in a minute. Go ahead, Jay.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Hey, how's it going, Al? Thanks a lot for having me on today.
That's my home. It's my home state, you know.
Oh, I've been a huge fan for a long time. I just got a quick question. What's in the works for ministry? And if you don't have anything coming up, I think maybe you should start your own radio show, because this interview is just rocking, man.
Well, I quit ministry and recording and all that stuff last year because I was throwing up blood. And then I went to the hospital. Same day as Brett Michaels had his brain aneurysm, I was getting defibrillated in some hospital room because I wound up there dead. And it turned out I had 13 ulcers, and that explains why the last 3 tours I've been puking up blood. And that's why I said I was going to stop recording and all that, because I just wasn't healthy enough to do it. But now, after about a year later, I've been working out. I quit smoking, quit drinking. I quit drugs 10 years ago. And so it looks like I'm all ready to go. My doctor gave me a go-ahead. So never say never.
Oh, take it easy. Is that breaking news here? The return of ministry.
That's breaking news, but I don't know if it's the return of ministry. We'll see. I'm just saying that my doctor gave me a clearance that, I'm full go for all things apocalyptic and less.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to Joe in Louisiana. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Al, long-time fan here in New Orleans, man. I saw y'all last time when y'all came down here. You put on a great show. I wanted to have one question. Man. Yeah, you mentioned David Icke, and I've been reading him for a while, and I listen to Alex Jones. One thing I can't seem to understand is they keep on saying that all these Obama administration people are into Zionist Jews, Zionism. I can't find anything where Alan Greenspan and Rahm Emanuel and all these fellows are admitting that they are Zionists. Is this a secret? I mean, how are these being connected? Can y'all help me out with this?
Well, how do they mix? Just listen. There's the old 3 words: follow the money. Follow the money. All right. And where's our money coming from? Why don't we crack down on Saudi Arabia for their human rights practices? Follow the money. Why don't we crack down on Israel for their completely insubordinate stance on having the people have the right to self-govern? Follow the money.
Well, my issue is throughout history, every government is corrupt and out of control, and if the people don't get angry and focused...
But government's on control. It's the overlords that are out of control.
No, I hear you.
Governments are just the mouthpieces. So, yeah, great. Okay, good. So the government sides with Israel. Why? Because we have vested interest in that. Not just the government. It's the overlords.
Yeah. Joe, thank you so much for the call. 2 quick ones, and we're going to let Al get out of here. And I look forward to him coming. He says he'd love to come in studio, so we look forward to it. Dan in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Al, you had mentioned, what a farce gold and silver is. Well, I guess I could see that, in a totally wiped out, post-apocalyptic world, where nothing is left. There's no economic system to speak of. But I'm a disabled veteran, and when I got hip to this through Alex's show about a year and a half ago, the real state of the economy, what's really going on, who the money masters are. I started buying gold and silver, or actually just silver. And because if they decide to just wave their magic wand on August 2nd or something and make all the disabled vets and whoever the hell else is dependent on them If they decide to wave their magic wand and make us all homeless and hungry, I've got a 3-month supply of food, and I got several $1,000s worth of silver that I've accumulated in the last.
Well, let me ask you: if you bought silver a year and a half ago, that was at about 25 or 20. Now it's at 42 right now.
Great, that's right.
But my whole deal is. I mean, look, I understand if it is going to be total Armageddon, gold and silver aren't going to matter, and the Bible says they'll throw their, jewels out in the street and beat themselves on the head and try to hide under rocks. My whole issue is I've got faith. I don't think that's the case. Gold and silver aren't perfect, but compared to fiat currencies run by the criminal bankers, it's as good as gold, and it's been great advice, and I stand by it. Now, as for going after Glenn Beck, I actually looked at that with Congressman Weiner. I mean, this is the guy that basically exaggerated and made stuff up about. Okay, well, I mean, listen, the issue here is I looked at those gold line deals, and yeah, Midas is a lot better, the sponsor I've got, and but a lot of what Weiner said, it turned out wasn't true. And so I just think this demonization of gold because they want to keep you in paper. And Al, all I'm saying is you ought to rethink that, because look, when I started plugging gold, it was 300. Now it's 1,620 something. I think that's pretty good advice. I mean, it's
okay. So you're at a Walmart, post-apocalyptic, and there's riots in the parking lot trying to loot it, and there's the National Guard guarding a Walmart, and you're in there with your one gold coin to buy some canned foods. Do you really think that's going to work? I mean, is this really the solution?
I don't think it's going to the total apocalypse situation, but yes, in a depression, just like my grandfathers, here in Texas, their dads, well, it was actually my grandmother's dad, and then on the other side. Well, the point is, they didn't turn their gold in when Roosevelt said turn it in for paper.
And that's smart. And you know what else to do? It's smart that you invested in silver and gold, my disabled friend, or my war veteran friend, but sell it now and buy batteries, guns, food, and anything else you can if you want to survive in that world, because gold is not going to mean a squatoosh. Okay,
Al, I actually agree with you.
Neither are banks.
Al?
Neither are anything. You're on your own. Okay?
Al?
So while it's high, I would sell at this record high price today. I would sell and buy supply. Okay?
Yeah, Al, I agree with you that first you need water, food, guns, a redoubt, friends. That comes first. But then gold and silver, because I don't believe there's going to be a total, complete collapse.
Who's going to take it? Who's going to take it? And if they know you have gold, who's going to come to your house and take that gold?
Well, number one, my gold isn't at my house.
Well, you understand what I'm saying. If it's in the bank, that's even worse, because they're all going to be shut down. Might as well just keep it at your house.
I don't even have that much to begin with, but the point is, I mainly got silver, and boy, has that done well, let me tell you. 8 times what it was, 9 times? The gold's only 4.5.
What's that going to do with the entire...
Because I don't believe it's going to collapse into total Armageddon.
The monetary system fails. When the monetary system fails, then what do?
All right,
you're stuck with all this gold and silver. What are you going to make? Teeth?
When the monetary system fails, Al, in the Depression and every other case, the Romans, 1,800 years ago, nearing... in one of their collapses, the people that did have the old currency, they became the new wealth. I mean, we've got history.
That's great, except that I don't think that there's going to be a new currency, same as the old new currency. That's my premise, okay? Wrong or right. You may be right, I may be wrong. But I'm just saying that I don't think that the new monetary system is going to be the same as the old. Therefore, gold and silver is a scam as much as the money markets, the dollars, or anything.
But they're
else
industrial metals. Copper's going up. Everything is going up because the value of the dollar is going down, Al. That's what we're saying. It's not that you have the gold, and then people say, well, what do you do with it later? You cash it in for whatever the new digital currency is.
Where are you going to cash it in? There's going to be no banks. So where do you cash it in?
The globalist. There's going to be implosions.
The globalist. Who's the globalist?
There's going to be implosions for the globalists, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Queen of England, the Dutch Queen.
Oh, God. Please.
No, that's who owns the Federal Reserve. I mean,
like I said, I agree with about 75% of you, Alex. I really do. I really like your show. But this one, I got to put my foot down. I really don't think there's going to be a monetary system very soon. And that includes gold and silver.
So you believe total, absolute collapse.
People are making money hand over fist right now on that. And look at the price of gold. What is it, $1,700 today? I mean, really? And what's that going to do for you in a Walmart to try and get food? What's that going to do for you?
Al. We predicted it all. We're right. We're not bad because we were right. They're devaluing the currency, Al.
Well, currency is nothing. Currency is nothing. We all know that. And gold and silver, yeah, are a safe bet now. But what I'm saying is that's not going to be a safe bet in the future. And while it's at record highs, it might be time to sell and buy your supplies to live. That's all I'm saying.
No, listen, I hope there's not a total collapse. Al, it's been amazing and really interesting, and big fan of your complex music. We really appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to having you back on to have these interesting discussions in the future.
Man, I would even buy gold for that.
Let me say bye to you during the break. Bob Chapman's coming up, and I do look forward to you coming to Austin and seeing you. Again, the founder of Ministry, our guest. You can go to the websites, facebook.com/ministry or 13thplanetrecords.com. Al Jourgensen has been our guest. Bob Chapman coming up.